Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you. I absolutely love the energy in your good morning. Looks like nobody had time for breakfast. So I want to find out how many people had breakfast. Can I see a show of hands? Then can I hear that breakfast in your good morning? Everyone, good morning and a very warm welcome to the day 2 of the World Cashew Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 10th World Cashew Conference, which means it's a landmark year, it's an iconic year, and for everyone that is seated in the house, that makes you super special as well. You have all been an amazing audience last night, and this morning, before I start, and while you shall continue to clap for all our speakers and presenters through the day, before I start, I want you all to please clap for yourselves once for being such amazing patrons. Let me hear a round of applause. Clap for the person sitting next to you. So if you're not clapping, you have to clap for the person sitting next to you. All right. And now, let's do a quick warm-up. So if you're left-handed, let me see your left hand up in the air. If you're right-handed, let me see your right hand. And now, in the next step of this exercise, let me see your phones up in the air. Where are your phones? Now, the toughest exercise of the day, let's put the phones on the silent mode. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome. This is going to be a busy day. It's going to be super loaded, and I'm sure that it's going to add a lot of value to your takeaways as and when you depart from this conference. At the very outset of the day, let me reintroduce myself. I'm your host for the conference. My name is Ruchika Davar. And let me also tell you that this evening, we have a gorgeous poolside gala night laid out for you. Now, just in case some of you are wondering, where is the poolside of this magnificent, expansive resort? Let me tell you that either all of you are staying in the first wing, you must have checked into the first lobby, or just like us, you are in the second wing. The pool happens to be in between these two wings, and you have to go through the spa lobby, and you will reach the pool, and trust me, in the evening, the pool is hard to miss because it has a gigantic LED screen which will be beautifully lit. And everyone, let's meet at 7 in the evening there. Please be in your relaxed, comfortable attire. It's an evening of music, activities, and some fun entertainments. So please be comfortably dressed and be ready for an evening of barbecue by the poolside. I shall repeat this entire information before we wind up for the business session today. With this, as I start, once again, an event of this scale and magnitude, especially since we are celebrating the 10th year, the entire 10 years of World Cashew Conference, an event of this magnitude is pretty easy to conceive of, but it's very, very difficult to execute without the support of our sponsors and our supporting bodies. So at the start of the day, I would like to start by naming and thanking all our sponsors and supporting bodies once. Now, I do understand that some of you might not want to clap at every name, but I would really appreciate it if you would clap at every 5 names that come up. So we shall start with our title sponsor. Now, they do deserve their own round of applause. So let's hear it for ETG, everyone. Our platinum sponsors, Starling Global and Ideal Limited. Our platinum sponsors, Arise and Olam Food Ingredients and Maya. Our key sponsors, Prosper Cashew Technoserve USDA, Well-Willing, Nanopix ISS Private Limited. Our delegate kit sponsors, Macworld. Our lanyard sponsors, Farm Angel. Our delegate badge sponsor, AFIC Logistics. Our preferred machinery partner, CMV. Thank you. And the reason I paused at CMV was because I hope that all of you have taken the time out to step out of this venue and see the gorgeous piece of engineering, the machinery that CMV has laid out live for you. They've gone through great lengths to bring and install this machine here at this expo. Let's reward their efforts by dropping in at their stall. Moving on, our preferred technology partners, Gayatri Tech, our fair trade partner, the European External Action Service, EAS, our lunch sponsors, NES, Century Exports Limited, session sponsors, Talk Commodities, CNSL Extraction Technology Partner, Goem Screw Press, associate sponsor, Afri Ventures, Viet Mold Machine, our women's session sponsor, something that I'm really looking forward to. How many of you are looking forward to Cashew women? Can I see your hands up? Men, how many of you are looking forward to it? All the women in cashew trade, all guns blazing. So our women's session sponsor is GIZ Move and Silagri Cashew. Our classic sponsors are QT, Quang Tien Impex SA, Spectrum Industries, Natcansco Company Limited, organicfumigation.com. Also, a big thank you going out to our partners and supporting bodies. First and foremost, a big thank you going out to our host country, Cambodia, especially the Ministries of Commerce, Ministry of Industry, Science, Technology and Innovation, and Ministry of Agriculture, Fishery and Forest. Let's hear it once again for the Kingdom of Cambodia, please. Our strategic partners, the Cotton and Cashew Nut Council, Ivory Coast, Cambodia Cashew Federation, Cashew Nut Association of Cambodia, our supporting bodies, African Cashew Alliance, Association of Cashew Exporters, Ivory Coast, Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, National Cashew Association of Nigeria, NCAN, All India Cashew Association, Federation of National Association of Cashew, Burkina, Institute of Nuts, Mozambique, Association of Cashew Exporters of Guinea, UNPA Burkina Faso, and CIAB Burkina Faso, and GICCI. Let's have a formal final round of applause. Also, a big thank you to Intergovernment Council on Cashew, CICC. A big thank you. We move on, ladies and gentlemen, to our first session at hand today. I hope that you will step out during the day. How many of you have seen the entire expo? Can I see a show of hands? Really? Only Mr. Shaktipal? Ladies and gentlemen, I know there is some amazing buffet laid out at every meal, especially the tea and coffee services to die for. But as you step out to that corner, also please look out at all the stalls. And just to let you know, well, indulging into a special request that came in yesterday, as you can see, this hall has been slightly shortened today so that we have added more B2B tables on the other side, which makes it easier for you to strategize, network, and discuss business. At any time, if you feel like talking and having a direct B2B interaction, please proceed to the other side of these walls where you'll get more privacy and less noise. With this, it's time for me to start our first session. Our chair has been waiting pretty patiently but excitedly. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Fitzpatrick, the President of Ingredient Sourcing Solutions. Let's give him a huge round of applause as he joins us up here. Our panelists for this session are the Director General CCA Ivory Coast, Dr. Adama Coulibaly, as I invite him on the stage. Inviting Mr. Dara, the President, Cambodia Cashew Federation, CCF. Mr. André Mahoutin Tanjipa, Executive Secretary, Intergovernmental Consultative Council on Cashew. Inviting Mr. Ilidio Afonso Jose Bande, Director General, Institute of Nuts of Mozambique. Mr. Alex Tran, Vice President and Trade Promotion Director, VINACAS. Inviting Mr. Tola Faseru, President, African Cashew Alliance. Always a dapper dresser, Mr. Faseru. Inviting up next Mr. Tukaram Prabhu, the Vice President of KCMA, Karnataka Cashew Manufacturing Association. And our final panelist on this session, Mr. Alfred Francis, Director General, Cashew Nut Board of Tanzania. So I'm hoping the panelists that are not here. So ladies and gentlemen, let me start talking a little bit about our panelists, starting with our chair, Mr. Jim Fitzpatrick, an award-winning nuts and dried fruit specialist. He is well known for his ACA Cashew webinar that attracts 500 plus participants and has run for more than 60 editions. He's a rock star in his own right. In his 30 years experience, he has developed global supply chains for natural ingredients, including cashew. And since 2010, this has been applied to a coaching and consulting role in developing exporters, advising institutions, developing policy, research, and value chain analysis, an author of more than 25 studies, and a regular contributor to cashew publications. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Adama Coulibaly needs no introduction. He's an Ivorian and married with 4 children, an academic career with PhD in veterinary medicine from the prestigious University of Louvain-la-Neuve in the Kingdom of Belgium. He joined the Veterinary Inspectorate in 1986 and thus began a 32 years of career devoted to management of veterinary medicine. He's an activist devoted to agricultural and rural training and has held various positions in national frameworks. Let me tell you that on 2nd August 2017, the head of state, Mr. Alassane Ouattara, renewed his confidence in Dr. Coulibaly by confirming him to the post of Director General of Cotton and Cashew Nut Council, and he has 2 national distinctions as an officer of the National Order and the Commander of Agricultural Merit. That's a pretty heavyweight position in his country. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dara, the Cambodia Cashew Federation. Mr. Dara is the president of CCF, and he is a founder of Ample Agro Product Company Limited. We all know it as Ample. He has been working on cashew sector for more than 11 years, and he has worked with a number of activities on natural resource conservation and management under the cooperation between Ministry of Environment and Wildlife Conservation Society. He has been awarded grants from USAID Feed the Future Harvest 2 and 3, GIZ CRAS, Australian Aid, CAVAC and CAPRED, Khmer Enterprise and ICCO Netherlands for his ample cashew processing business. He has also received scholarships to study various fields in Japan, USA and India, and earned his master's degree of agricultural science at Tokyo University in Japan in 2008. That is pretty academic, but very, very exemplary. Ladies and gentlemen, our next panelist, Mr. André Mahoutin, is the Executive Secretary of CICC, and he has been, since 2020, headquartered in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. He's been a natural resources manager, environmentalist, and sustainable development specialist, and an expert with more than 30 years of experience in the cashew industry. Very familiar with the languages of public and private stakeholders and the governance of cashew industry as well. Mr. Ilidio Afonso Jose Bande is an agronomist working on the agriculture sector for almost 30 years, and he has large experience on developing programs, monitoring and evaluation of coordinating activities with NGOs and private sector. Additionally, he was in charge of rural extension services in Inhambane province from 1988 to 2000. Following years, he has worked with Provincial Directorate of Agriculture and Food Security in Gaza province and later in Zambezia province. He has also received training in Ghana, India, China, Mozambique, Portugal, Switzerland and Brazil. And I move on to our next speaker, Mr. Alex Tran, Vice President in charge of trade promotion of VINACAS and CEO of My An Cashew Company, one of the leading cashew processors in Long An Province, Vietnam. He's also the chairman of Long An Provincial Cashew Processing and Importing Exporting Companies, which is known as, the body is known as LACAS, where he's one of the largest cashew processing hubs in Vietnam. Besides cashew, Mr. Alex Tran is also very experienced in processing and trade of fresh and canned fruits and vegetables in Vietnam. Our next speaker, Mr. Tola Faseru is the President of African Cashew Alliance. He is the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture and Food Security, Osun State, and has been a business leader in commodity trading and export with over 2 decades of experience in the industry. Founder of Colossus Investments Limited, Mr. Faseru. Mr. Faseru is the president of ACA, the organization that serves as the umbrella body for the entire cashew value chain in Africa. He is a fellow of the Institute of Credit Administration and has earned a master's in MBA from the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University. Mr. Tola Faseru was the National President, National Cashew Association of Nigeria, NCAN, during his tenure, and then he transferred to Nigerian cashew industry, thus fostering bilateral relationships. I have one more profile to go for a final speaker for this session. Our next speaker, Mr. Francis Alfred, is the Director General of Cashew Nut Board of Tanzania since April 2019, a holder of BSc Agriculture General, an MSc, an MBA in International Business, and postgraduate diploma in project management. He has vast experience of having worked with both private and government institutions for more than 20 years. He has worked as a manager at FINCA, which is a foundation for international community assistance and a private international NGO providing financial assistance to disadvantaged groups, especially women and children. He later joined the Tea Board of Tanzania. Thereafter, he worked as director engaged in strategic value addition projects at National Development Corporation, which is a government entity engaged in investing in projects that have significant social effect in the transformation of the national economy. A broader, detailed, and he's got a varied experience working in regulatory crop management, and at the same time, he has transformed the cashew nut subsector for the benefit of all stakeholders in his territory. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, as I leave this session in the hands of Mr. Jim Fitzpatrick, you can make out from the sheer profiles of the speakers up here, all of them are pretty acclaimed, esteemed, and very, very well-versed with their craft and their functions in the cashew supply chain. I urge you all to not only be attentive listeners, let it be a very, very highly engaging and interactive session, and let's try and extract all the value that we can from the collective experience of all these people on the stage here. Let's give a round of applause to Mr. Jim Fitzpatrick as he starts to steer this ship.
Morning. You're welcome to Business Session 1, Competition and Cooperation. This sector has not been known for cooperation. Whether we look at national or international level, we have generally worked over many years in a sector characterized by adversarial relationships, absence of cooperation. But whether we like it or not, the cashew producing and processing countries are dependent on each other in a value chain that is volatile and often fragile. This value chain is characterized by price volatility, by an inequitable distribution of rewards and resources, and all too often by unsustainable practices. Cashews are overwhelmingly grown by small farmers, many of them dependent on this unpredictable sector for their livelihood, or for part of it. Perhaps child education is often the case in West Africa, for example. Throughout the history of the sector, competing interests, differing needs, and a lack of dialogue have contributed to a business culture where cooperation is the exception rather than the norm. A mention for the World Cashew Conference, which has, for 10 years now, facilitated dialogue and allowed us a forum in which to address these issues. So today, in a period of renewed global volatility, post-COVID-19 pandemic, with conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East, and a time of sector volatility, including the rise of Cambodia as a major producer, slowing consumption in North America, rising consumption in Asia, the uneven development of processing in Africa, and increased government intervention and regulation in the sector, we come together to consider this question. How can cashew countries work together? There are many issues to consider. The concentration of processing and the concentration of production, although unfortunately not in the same places. Trade issues, SPS issues, import duties, export tariffs, informal land border trade, the abuse of the rules of origin, access to technology, both in production and in processing. It's often thought technology is just about processing. It's also about production. There are issues around marketing. How can this sector meet the needs of consumers and increasingly of supermarkets? What's the opportunity for generic promotion to improve the sector? As part of that, the deficit of market information. It's been a key frustration of many in encouraging cooperation between countries, that the market information is either not there or it's of very poor quality. There are other issues. Contract fidelity and contract enforcement, particularly international contract enforcement in this sector. But perhaps the greatest challenge of all is sustainability, including the impact of climate change, deforestation, sometimes justified, sometimes not, and the treatment of workers and growers in the factories and in the supply chains all around the world. So to guide us through this discussion, and hopefully to help us find some ideas and answers, we're joined by, well, quite a panel of talent. We have representatives from 2 of the 3 largest producing countries, representatives from all 3 of the top processing countries. We've 3 Director Generals of public institutions, we've 3 presidents of trade associations, and by my calculation, I think it's about 130 years of cashew experience here on the podium. So make the most of it and get involved, as our MC has been telling us. So the way we're going to work is we're going to ask each of our panelists to make a short presentation. That'll be followed by a discussion. And during that discussion, we're hoping to identify some areas for cooperation and to identify some goals. With your help, we'd love to come out of this session with some specifics. So get involved. In the Q&A session at the end, think about your questions. You're also welcome to make any comments. Don't miss the opportunity. So let's hear from our first speaker, Dr. Adama Coulibaly, Director General of the CCA from Cote d'Ivoire. Dr. Coulibaly.
Oh là là, je suis le seul à parler français, je m'en excuse. Et le modérateur me dit que j'ai 4 minutes. Ce n'est pas évident de parler d'un sujet aussi important en 4 minutes, surtout que tous les défis qui ont été relevés par l'expert sont nombreux en termes donc de coopération et de collaboration au sein des filières. Je veux rappeler que Mon introduction va partir de ce que j'ai entendu hier. Je m'excuse de revenir sur ce qui a été dit hier, mais c'est une belle introduction pour moi que je vais faire pour arriver donc sur la nécessité de collaborer et de coopérer aussi bien dans nos pays qu'à l'extérieur de nos pays, entre tous les autres pays à l'économie du cajou. Hier, nous avons entendu une présentation qui faisait appel, donc qui affirmait que l'ANACAR a détruit 25% des forêts primaires en Côte d'Ivoire. 25%. Je veux dire que selon les images satellites, l'anacardien représente 7% des superficies dans les parties où l'anacar pousse, c'est-à-dire 60% du territoire ivoirien. 7%. J'insiste sur 7%. Alors, comment est-ce que 7% peut détruire 25% des forêts primaires en Côte d'Ivoire, alors que l'anacar ne pousse pas dans tout le pays? Ça, ce sont des affirmations qui, de notre point de vue, ne sont pas justes. Et nous pouvons apporter toutes les preuves avec des images satellites que l'anacardien ne détruit pas. Et de 2018 à 2023, 8000 hectares seulement ont été plantés et contrôlés. 8000 hectares. Ce n'est pas une expansion, j'allais dire, non contrôlée. Toutes les plantations sont faites à base de plans améliorés qui sont distribués par le conseil du Cote de l'anacar. Donc, il y a une expansion totalement contrôlée. Nous avons aussi entendu que c'est une monoculture. C'est une monoculture. Je rappelle que les amandes californiennes, c'est une monoculture. Les vignobles en France et ailleurs, c'est une monoculture. Les agrumes, les plantations d'agrumes, c'est une monoculture. Les oliviers qui poussent ailleurs sont des monocultures. Où est le drame? Ouais. Et on dit que l'anacardien met en insécurité alimentaire les planteurs. Mais les planteurs, c'est une insulte à leur égard. Ce sont des acteurs économiques qui savent ce qu'ils font. Quand une terre a été utilisée et qu'elle n'est plus propice à faire du vivrier, on plante de l'anacardien et on bouge ailleurs. Au total, nous pensons que toutes ces attaques qui ne nous paraissent pas fondées, parce qu'à la fin du rapport de Maïti, qui a été le support de cette présentation, il y a 14 recommandations, dont 3 seulement sont adressées au gouvernement de Côte d'Ivoire. Les autres recommandations sont adressées au Congrès américain, au gouvernement de la Grande-Bretagne, à l'Union, à la Commission européenne. Nous trouvons qu'il y a un problème à ce niveau-là. C'est pour ça qu'il est extrêmement important que dans nos pays, nous voyons cette collaboration entre tous les acteurs. Et c'est ce que la Côte d'Ivoire essaie de faire. En mettant ensemble tous les acteurs, la Côte d'Ivoire a créé donc l'OIA Anacarde, qui est donc l'organisation interprofessionnelle de l'anacarde. Et tous les acteurs, producteurs, acheteurs, exportateurs, transformateurs, constituent les 4 familles de cette organisation et ils sont obligés de travailler ensemble à l'effet de stabiliser et de travailler à la durabilité donc, de la filière. Au-delà donc, de ce que nous faisons en interne, nous avons œuvré, mais très densément, à la mise en place du CICC et nous sommes fiers que le secrétaire exécutif soit donc panéliste à cette session. Cette organisation est utile pour la filière parce que les attaques qui sont faites contre la Côte d'Ivoire, quand on aura fini avec la Côte d'Ivoire, on va attaquer le Bénin, on va attaquer le Nigeria, on va attaquer le Vietnam, etc. Dans les mêmes termes. C'est pourquoi il est extrêmement important que nous puissions être ensemble partout et sur toute la chaîne de valeur. Mais je veux dire, de notre point de vue, ce n'est pas le changement climatique qui menace la filière. C'est les répartitions illégales, qui ne sont pas équitables de la valeur. Pardon? Excusez-moi. Je deviens un peu passionné comme... Bon, je m'en excuse. Je veux dire, c'est la mauvaise répartition des revenus de la chaîne de valeur qui menace la filière. parce que depuis 2018, nous constatons une baisse régulière du prix des amandes. Alors que sur le marché, le consommateur final continue de payer le plus fort. J'ai été aux États-Unis en décembre. Je suis allé voir le prix des amandes. 432 grammes coûte à peu près 10 $. Je dis bien 10 $, c'est 9,99 $. Mais alors que ces amandes sont achetées avec les transformateurs autour de 2 $, 6, 2 $, 8. Avec le planteur, c'est même pas un demi-dollar. C'est ça qui menace la filière. Et c'est pour ça qu'il est bon que producteurs, transformateurs et, j'allais dire, se mettent ensemble pour négocier avec les distributeurs d'amandes. Parce que c'est à ce niveau que nous pensons qu'il y a le problème. Parce que le producteur ne peut pas être toujours la variable d'ajustement. À un moment donné, il ne trouvera pas son compte dans la production. Il va abandonner les plantations. Et c'est là qu'il y a le vrai risque de notre point de vue. 4 minutes, je pense que je ne vais pas aller plus loin. Je voudrais vous remercier. Merci beaucoup.
Identify a couple of important questions and ideas coming from Dr. Coulibaly's presentation. Firstly, what can we do, how can we cooperate to address issues arising from poor understanding and lack of information on the sector? And secondly, what can we do to address issues of inequality in the distribution of the rewards that this very rich sector offers? So let's get a Cambodian perspective on these issues from Mr. Dara, the president of the Cashew, the Cambodian Cashew Federation.
Very good morning, respected Excellency, still Excellency here, and ladies and gentlemen, today is a business day, it's not like yesterday, and I hope that all of you will put, an eye on what we are doing, and let's work together in order to improve the cashew sector, not only in Cambodia, but around the world. So, first of all, I would like to thank you very much for, indeed for the World Cashew Fund that doing in Cambodia that we expect a long time ago. Today, we will talk only 5 minutes to talk about the Cambodia Cashew Federation. And whenever you have any burning question or any kind of silly question, you just come and ask me during the time that we work out for lunch or any time. So here's the Cashew Cambodia Federation that we formed 1 year already, just 1 year. Federation is very, very new. Okay. So the role of the federation, we would like to tell you, because I think most of you will get confused. What is the CCF? CCF is a national entity level formed by the government in order to coordinate and cooperate with government ministry, institution, development partner, and all cashew sector in order to be under one umbrella to improve the cashew sector in Cambodia in the successful and sustainable manner. That is the CCF that you should know together from now on. So, and I put all the logo here. The cooperation work, when you say it's very easy, but to bring people to work together, it's very hard. So today's topic is very important on that one. And here's the role of the CCF in Cambodia. So we have like the Cambodia. You can see in the slide that we have a cashew community, and we also have the post-harvesting, we have processing, and we have the market. So the CCF working very hard in order to link this value chain together in order to bring the cashew successful. So I can put in the middle, you can see is the finance. Finance is very important in order to improve the cashew sector. And at the right hand side, this is the priority that the cashew in Cambodia should do. One thing is about the post-harvesting, because most of Cambodian farmers, they are trying to sell the raw cashew nut in the wet condition. So they just drop from the tree and then they sell directly to Vietnam. And we don't really have a proper post-harvesting. And we have a problem about the processing. You know, there's about like around, many people talk like Cambodia produces about 1 million ton every year. And most of the raw cashew nut is exporting. We don't really process. So we process only about less than 5%. So the processing is an opportunity for Cambodia that we need to start from now. And the marketing. So CCF try to work very hard, not only with the government sector or our development partner, any kind of buyer, in order to find the market for Cambodia cashew kernel, especially. And here we have the expert here. I don't want to talk a lot because this is the data I get from Mr. Fitzpatrick. But I just talk roughly that in the world they produce about 4 million tons of raw cashew nut. And Cambodia during 2021, we have around like 1 million tons. And we got this data from the VINACAS that they import the raw cashew nut from Cambodia around 1 million tons during 2021. And then 2023, last year, we have about like 700,000 tons. And if you want to go to detail on this, we can discuss during the break or during the lunch, that we can discuss more about this one. And for the 2024, we expect that the production will be increased. Because, you know, normally when you come to Cambodia, like the early February, you will not get the cashew nut. But you can see, you visit our booth, yeah? You can see there's a Cambodia cashew nut there already. So this year, you know, we harvest a little bit early, and we know that the climate change is favorable for cashew for this year. So we will get not only the good quality, but also a lot of quantity for this year. So we hope that the raw cashew nut will increase this year. And like ASEAN, we know already that we export a lot to Vietnam, and some to China, and some to India. And for processor, I already mentioned, but we would like to let you know that Cambodia, we grow about like 70%, so not 70 to 75% of M23. So whenever you process M23, you will get a lot about W180. So when the world talk about the cashew price, they talk about 223, yeah? Sorry, 320. So that's why it's the way that Cambodia should position ourselves in order to sell our giant kernel to the world market. Here, just an example of the cashew kernel that we follow by AFI standard of USA. So if you look at here, you will see that there's Cambodia, we have a lot of variety. So you can have like 160 until, you know, 450. But like I said earlier, that Cambodia, we produce a lot of M23. So we will get more about WW180. Normally Cambodia, W and W, not only one W, because our kernel is very white color. And now, because we are in the beginning of doing processing, so we don't really have a lot of byproduct to process in order to have the value added price. So, but in the future, if you really want to invest in Cambodia, so byproduct like cashew shell is very important. Not include, we don't really talk about the cashew apple. Normally in Cambodia, but we have an expert from Vietnam, we have an expert from India. But according to our experience, I normally put 1 kg of cashew nut equal 5 kg of cashew apple. 1 kg of cashew kernel, 5 kg of cashew nut. So this is what we have done so far. So, but we will learn from you on this one also. So here is the market. I want to talk a little bit about the market that we have done so far. Normally we have the market in US, EU, and Australia. They really want a high quality standard, but they give us a very small margin. That is the thing. But another thing that very important for those markets, they have the niche market that Cambodia should focus on. And it's going to China, then they no more quality. They want always low price. But the good thing for Chinese market, they want good kernel. They want big kernel. So this is what we have experienced so far. And normally we have experience with Japan and Middle East. They really give us a good price.
Dara, can I ask you a question?
Oh.
Cambodia is rising. Cambodia has become a major producer. Talk to us about cooperation in Cambodia. What cooperation would you like to see in Cambodia with the rest of the cashew world?
That's a very good question. So, like, as you know already, that CCF role is about the cooperation. So that's why we try to work very hard, not only with the local, like government, local processor, producer, something like that, but we also want to cooperate with the giant processor in the world, for example, like Vietnam, and maybe the giant producer in Africa, you know, Cote, you produce like 1 million ton every year, even the, you know, bad climate, good climate, things like that. So in order to cooperate together, so we do need something that, you know, the whole value chain need to understand each other. For example, like, okay, so, you know, when you talk about the fair, let's say fair institution or fair country, so the rich country, they will have advantage of the poor country. So if we are talking about processing, let me give straight away example with Vietnam. So Cambodia, when we process, we cannot win Vietnam, because Vietnam, everything in Vietnam is very cheap. Everything in Vietnam very cheap, and our production cost is very high. But what we think, we just would like to cooperate with Vietnam. How can we work together to produce not only in Vietnam, but maybe in Cambodia, and how the international development partner and how the buyer will support us. For example, like you really want to have Cambodian farmer, but you don't really give a good price to farmer. You really want to have the farmer in Cote d'Ivoire, but you don't really give the good price to the farmer in Cote d'Ivoire. So things like that, we need to work together from the buyer perspective, processor and farmer. So every actor need to be treated, you know, in the fair way. Otherwise, you know, people will just talk. And then at the end, you know, according to our experience so far, you know, people just talk about, okay, if you have organic, you have GI, you have environmental friendly, you have kind of social fair trade. But when we go to meet the buyer, they always ask about the price. They always ask about the price. So how can I buy from you with this price? Because I buy from those countries with a very low price and the same quality. So things like that. So we need to work out on that one, how we can cooperate together. Let's say something like, take EU as an example. For example, like EU will not buy if the people cut the forest to grow the cashew. So things like that is very important. The traceability, something like that. But the system needs to be in place, you know. The system needs to be in place in order to help each other. Otherwise, you know, the paper, just the paper, but the practical, we don't know anything. Okay, so things like that. So we need to work together. So I know that work together is very hard, but we should start to work together, and we hope that international development partner will be in the middle in order to help us each other in order to improve this kind of sector.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, great slides. Where'd you get the information? Now I'd like to introduce you to Mr. André TANDJIEKPON from the CICC. The CICC is an organization created to foster cooperation between cashew sectors in West Africa. André.
Bonjour tout le monde. Vous pouvez prendre vos casques parce que la présentation sera en français. Merci. Mon intervention va aborder deux aspects. Le premier, c'est de partager avec vous ce que c'est que le CICC en bref et donner un peu notre regard sur ce qui est compétition et ce qui peut être également coopération. Le CICC est une organisation intergouvernementale des pays producteurs du cajou. Il est créé en 2016 à Abidjan et son siège est à Abidjan. Aujourd'hui, nous avons 11 pays qui constituent le CICC. Et quand nous prenons ces 11 pays, ça représente environ 53% de la production mondiale du cajou. Et avec ces pays, l'objectif est de promouvoir le secteur du cajou de façon globale et de façon durable. Et cette mission est répartie au niveau de 4 piliers. Le premier pilier du CICC, c'est de coopérer et de faire des échanges. Et c'est en ça que le thème choisi pour ce panel répond parfaitement à l'un des piliers du CICC. Le deuxième pilier du CICC, comme vous le savez, concerne les questions politiques et les règles. Comment faire en sorte que les règles soient au service de la promotion durable du secteur du cajou ou de l'industrie mondiale du cajou. Et le troisième pilier, c'est tout ce qui concerne l'accès aux données, informations justes pour prendre des décisions justes et durables. Et le dernier pilier sur lequel repose le CICC, c'est le développement de capacités. Et comme nous le savons tous, sans développement de capacités, la durabilité du secteur du cajou restera problématique. Alors, comment les décisions sont prises au niveau du CICC? Il faut dire qu'au niveau du CICC, les décisions sont prises par les ministres en charge du commerce et les ministres en charge de l'agriculture des pays membres. Et ces décisions prises chaque année sont mises en œuvre par le secrétariat exécutif qui est basé en Côte d'Ivoire. Ceci étant, quelle est notre vision par rapport aux questions de coopération, aux questions de compétition? Avant d'aller à ce niveau, je voudrais faire 3 petits constats. Le premier constat, quand on regarde un peu le secteur, l'industrie du cajou, ces 10 dernières années, la carte de la production, la carte de la transformation, la carte de la consommation, la carte de l'export et la carte de consommation, toutes ces cartes ont connu des modifications majeures ces 10 dernières années. Ça, c'est le premier constat. Le deuxième constat qu'il faut observer, c'est que nous avons aujourd'hui le développement de nouveaux acteurs dans le secteur du cajou, que ce soit acteurs publics, acteurs privés, organisés ou non organisés, mais tous travaillant pour le développement ou la promotion du secteur du cajou. Ça, c'est un constat important, le deuxième constat important. Le troisième constat, c'est que ces 10 dernières années, on a noté une grande amélioration des connaissances. Et nous avons aujourd'hui un certain nombre de plateformes à l'échelle mondiale ou à l'échelle du continent qui contribuent à générer ces connaissances au niveau de l'industrie du cajou. On peut nommer Cashew Info, on peut également nommer African Cashew Alliance. Tous ces éléments également aujourd'hui constituent des éléments majeurs qui permettent d'avoir des connaissances au niveau du secteur du cajou. Mais mon constat par rapport à la compétition ou constat du CICC par rapport à la consommation, il faut noter que les pays ont dans leur ADN la compétition. On ne peut pas s'en passer. Les pays ont dans leur ADN la compétition. Qu'ils soient pays forts, pays faibles, pays pauvres ou pays en développement, tous ces pays ont dans leur ADN la compétition. Et quand nous revenons au niveau du secteur du Cashew, cette compétition se traduit par le souci d'avoir la part beaucoup plus grande du marché. Le souci de drainer beaucoup plus d'investissement et de profit, et c'est naturel. Le souci également d'assurer la visibilité et d'avoir l'influence dans le secteur. Tout ça, c'est naturel. Mais malgré ça, si nous visons uniquement ces soucis sans penser à la durabilité du secteur, on pourrait passer à côté du développement durable de ce secteur. C'est pour ça que le CIC pense que les chantiers sur lesquels les pays doivent travailler et de façon sûre sont des sentiers qui concernent la politique et les règles. Les sentiers qui concernent les plaidoyers. Et ces plaidoyers, par exemple, un élément majeur qui concerne le Cashew, c'est les prix. Et si les pays ne travaillent pas ensemble pour adresser la problématique des prix, ça peut être problématique pour l'ensemble des acteurs qui s'intéressent au secteur du Cashew. Les chantiers de données et d'information, et nous sommes ici déjà pour faire ces partages-là, je pense que c'est une très bonne... Les chantiers sur la recherche et développement, les échanges de connaissances, les changements climatiques, on en a parlé et je pense que c'est le débat d'aujourd'hui et je pense que si les pays doivent collaborer dans le secteur du Cashew également, le changement climatique doit être un élément important sur lequel nous devons agir. Les bonnes pratiques d'un pays à l'autre, ça doit pouvoir servir de base de coopération pour alimenter le développement du secteur. Le développement de capacités, tous ces éléments constituent des éléments sur lesquels nous devons travailler. Je vous remercie pour votre attention.
Thank you very much indeed. Nuts of Mozambique will speak next. You're very welcome, sir. Please go to the podium. I'd like to just highlight a couple of points that André made, a couple of words André mentioned, values and vision. It's really important. I really appreciate those. What are our values? What is our vision? And how do we reconcile differences?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I have also a small presentation. How is it going? No? Okay. Well, we'd like to say that Cashew contributes to the social and economic development of producing countries through generation of income and employment opportunity from the farm, from the industry, and also to the market. So it's important to say that in Mozambique, the cashew value channel, it involves more than 1.4 million people. So it's one of the most important value channel in agriculture in Mozambique. Therefore, investment in the cashew has enormous potential for reducing poverty, particularly in the rural areas where the production takes place and where are few opportunities for employment and incomes. So in Mozambique in particular has a good agroecological conditions for cashew cultivation in almost the entire country. Who knows Mozambique is very large. In all extension we have a very good condition for cashew production. But it's important to note that the most important provinces that we can produce very well cashew. In the north part of Mozambique, you can find in Nampula, almost 50% of the production is done in Nampula, and Cabo Delgado also. In the central zone, you can find the Zambezia province, that's very important. In the south, you can find the Nyambane and the Gaza province. Furthermore, there is an ongoing effort by the government of Mozambique to rehabilitate the roads. We know that the roads are very important in the transportation of the production to the market. And also we had a big effort to electrification, rural electrification, to facilitate the process of industrialization in the rural areas, and also agro-processing being one of the big priority of the government of Mozambique. In terms of processing, also Nampula is ahead. More or less 90% of our factories are located in Nampula, and also we have one in Cabo Delgado and one in Masia. I think that Mr. Gonzalo Correa is here, which is head of the Cashew organization. So those factors combined. About cooperation, we have here 4 points. In production, we think that we can establish a cashew orchards in our southern zone with our brother from Tanzania. Also, we know that Tanzania had some good materials, like also in Mozambique had. We can change the material in terms of production. In terms of processing, also we think that we can have a process of exchange of experience. Mozambique has some experience in processing. Maybe another countries in the southern of Africa, they don't have. We can exchange experience. And we can establish also a network for this part. In terms of research also, we know that we have a lot of experience in Tanzania. We can exchange also variety, technology, good practices. So we have a lot of things to change especially in the southern area. In terms of policies, Mozambique, government of Mozambique have approved a new law, or cashew law. Maybe we can share with another countries. We think that it will be good in terms of disease controls, and also in terms of trade in the zone. So, finally, in terms of policy, the government of Mozambique approved in 2022 a package of measures of economic acceleration, which includes no payment of VAT, for example, which include no payment of VAT in the import of factors for agriculture and for industrialization in the agriculture sector. So I think that we think that the 4 points can be important in the cooperation with another countries in Africa and so on. This is our proposal for us Mozambican. We think that the institution like GIZ, European Union, and others, they can help us, they can do the efforts to support projects in those 4 areas that we choose. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I think that is our proposal. Thank you.
On Mr. Alex Tran from VINACAS. You're very welcome, sir. Mr. Bande, when he did finally get to the subject of cooperation, made some very generous offers from Mozambique. And thank you for those. He offered to share experience in processing, in research, and in policy, and proposed a network in which to share those factors. Mr. Tran, you're very welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, my voice is very bad, so I hope that you can hear me clearly and understand me. Sorry about that. First of all, let me thank to the WCC organizer of the conference, and Nasi Cashew Info, and Cambodia Cashew Federation, and invited VINACAS and myself to join the conference here. And also, thank you for inviting me as a speaker for this very interesting session. We are processor, and we are cashew businessmen. So we talk directly to the topic of the session last year about the competition and the cooperation, how to settle this in among the country to do the same cashew business. I think competition is the nature of the business. So without combination, this no business happen. I don't think. Of course, we must face the competition, provided that is fair competition. And that's a good style, because competition may motivate us, encourage us to improve ourselves, to improve about the product quality, about the services, or improve pricing, or saving in the processing, to keep low cost, everything, to improve the technology, many, many good points. So, but this should be fair. And now today, one thing that in Vietnam, I think this is one thing I should express to you. That is the Vietnam is look like a cashew processing center over the world. And the capacities are developed too far away, too much. Even now today, the manufacturing only reduce their capacity. Also a part of the industry have closed. But the capacity is still very high. I can say now, last year, 2023, we processed almost 3 million tons of raw cashew nut. The whole world is just about 4 million, more than 4 million tons. We can say if 4 million tons to Vietnam, we also can process whole raw materials. That's more than other people. Vietnam's cashew processors, we feel about the pressure on how to get materials. With sourcing of material, that is a big issue. And the competition in getting raw materials was stronger and stronger day by day. So how to settle this? Of course, the best way in this situation that we make a cooperation with the cashew producer, in the country have a production like Cambodia and many other African countries where we import the raw cashew nut. And in the past, until now, we have very good cooperation from many friends, many suppliers from Africa. And we get most raw cashew nuts from Cambodia. That through the business, we get very good cooperation. Although something happened, but that is not a big issue through the cooperation. Thank you. Then I hope that we continue to have a good cooperation in the future to make us to be stronger in supplying our product to the consumer, to the end user over the world who need the cashew and who love the cashew. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Our next speaker is Mr. Tola Faseru from Nigeria, the president of the African Cashew Alliance. Mr. Tran has told us and shown quite clearly how dependent we all are in this sector on each other, Vietnam for raw material, the producers to sell it. Tola, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much. Jim has told me I should just go straight, and I'm fast. Competition and cooperation is very important. As we know, we are in a global village, and so we need each other. We have dependencies. We cannot operate in silos. We cannot be an island unto ourselves. And I've seen over the years with my work in the cashew industry how cooperation has helped. Of course, African Cashew Alliance itself as a body is all out to ensure competitiveness and sustainability. And so over the years there have been platform created for cooperations amongst countries and indeed achieving competitiveness in the industry. The industry has grown and experienced a lot of, some milestones, and we look forward to even greater accomplishments. Let me start from Africa. Africa has a lot to benefit from cooperation even amongst themselves. As you're aware, we have the ACTA, which is the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which allows, which promotes trade amongst countries in Africa. We have not seen that much happening amongst African countries. And I think it's one area we have to look into very, very seriously. Ivory Coast does about 1,200,000 tons. That's a quite decent quantity. They are the biggest. I'm looking forward in the next few years how we're going to be seeing cross-border movement of cargo between each other. I see Tanzania they're already doing a volume of about 300,000. I see them networking and working with Kenya, that is right behind them. Kenya is processing all that they have. The volume they have is not much, maybe about 20,000 tons, thereabout in a year. I'm looking at such cooperations amongst us in Africa. And of course, if you look at it very well, the COVID period makes us to think. It was even very difficult moving goods from Africa to Asia. And I know a lot of us had some very, I won't say nasty experiences. And so we need to see how we cooperate at each levels within the bloc and then globally. So these are issues that we have to look at. I believe that sharing information, networking amongst each other globally will help us. I remember our experience in Nigeria, how we had some strong, we started to develop strong relationship with the Vietnamese Cashew Association. I remember coming here 2013, coming there 2013 to sign an MOU with them. We sat together, they told us what their problem was with the Nigerian cashew nuts and how we could do bigger businesses. And that we were able to achieve. You know, we went back, told our farmers, you needed to do this to improve the quality, and with that you can sell more into Vietnam. Today, Nigeria, I think after Vietnam and after Ivory Coast and Cambodia, we're the next supplier to Vietnam, and the understanding has become very, very rich amongst each other. So, of course, the CICC also has created that platform as well, with the various governments of the cashew producing countries coming together, having a platform, having a forum where they can review issues and come up with some common policies and all of that. So we should strengthen all of these things, And then, of course, in the area of the cashew apple, which is wasting all over Africa, and I think even in Asia, we need to begin to develop common, approach to it to see that these quantities of resources are not wasted. Of course, in the area of the other derivatives, we need to collaborate and ensure that we maximize this great commodity cashews that God has given to us. I think at this point I want to stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Tola. And he's highlighted for us the roles of trade associations, and it's very true that the formation of trade associations has often been a watershed event in various countries. I'd now like to call on our speaker from Tanzania, Mr. Francis Alfred, Director General of the Cashew Board of Tanzania.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to talk about competitiveness and how can we collaborate. To start with, maybe I'll talk about 4 aspects. To start with, let me introduce about, because we are finishing the cashew season now, how are we prospering as we are talking now? So far, we have produced already 250,000 metric tons, the ending season, of which 98% had an outturn of 50 pounds and above. And we are expecting at the end of season to reach around 260 up to 270 metric tons per annum, being an increment of around 40% as compared to the previous season. Our main focus as Cashew Board of Tanzania is to increase production, and as our fellow colleagues, other countries also want to increase processing. By 2030, we want to process all the cashew we are producing. Now let me go to the areas of collaboration. I'll talk about 3 areas. First one on good agricultural practices. Yesterday we heard from Cambodia. We congratulate them for the M23. It's performing very well. but also in Tanzania, for example, Tran, which is one of the state-of-the-art research station, where we are using polyclonal seeds in Tanzania, where we have combined several traits to develop certain seeds which we are using. So in this area, on the part of planting materials, I think as countries, we can find ways to collaborate, to look on these planting materials we are using, and to come up with seeds or planting materials which may be beneficial for everyone, because every country is doing a certain effort to improve its planting materials. But also, on the good farming practices, we heard about Cambodia, for example, yesterday. They are talking about establishing standards for cashew. We heard yesterday, they've got several standards they've established for cashew. In Tanzania also, Tran, the research station, has got also standards for cashew. So in those areas of standards, different countries which are producing cashew globally, we can come up to find out which standards can we develop, which can have beneficial for all of us along the continent. So, sharing knowledge in good agricultural practice, it is good to go hand in hand with finding ways to decrease cost of production. Because now, if you have seen, most of the prices now are going down. So we need to find ways on how can we decrease the cost of production. Yesterday it was stated one of the challenges we are facing is how can we decrease cost of production. So we need to find ways to decrease cost of production so that we can produce our cashew at an cost effectively. The second aspect is about marketing. We know that 90% of cashew, most of which is processed in India and Vietnam. Now, we need to improve our marketing system and collaborate on ways to how can we improve our marketing system, increase the market base. Because as you heard here, Cambodia, they're planning to produce more than 1 million. So if we keep on depending all on India and Vietnam, we are likely to remain with RCN in our countries at the end of the season. So we need to find ways to increase our market base. For example, in Tanzania, we use what we call warehouse seed system under the Warehouse Regulatory Board. It's one of the best systems used in marketing. And now we are, with increase in processing, we are now establishing selling points for kernels, especially for those small-scale processors. We are finding ways now to start selling points for kernels. We have been collaborating in this aspect with our colleagues in Mozambique. They've been coming to learn about the system of warehouse receipts regulatory system in Tanzania. So, due to increased production globally and the dependence on India and the Vietnam market only, we are likely to fail in future. So we need to increase our market base and find how can we collaborate on that one and improve quality. As you know now, every country is talking about increasing value addition. So in this increasing value addition, we need to also collaborate on how to find ways on the local content. Because now we are talking about having incentive for investors, and most of investors are coming out of our countries. But I think while we are working on how to increase processing in our country, we should make sure that we've got local content. We've got people who are born in our countries who are also engaged in processing. That one will enable sustainability in what we are doing. For example, apart from increasing processing, we need also to increase consumption in our countries. For example, we know India has got a very competitive advantage in cashew because they're consuming a lot of cashew which they are producing. The same with Brazil, for example. They are performing very well in value addition of apple to produce juice because the consumption of locally of apple juice is higher in Brazil. That's why they are prevailing well in apple juice production. So it's high time now, all cashew producing countries, we should find ways to increase our local consumption of what we are producing. That one will assist us to have a better prospect while we are working to increase processing. For example, as Tanzania, we are learning from Mozambique On the part of processing, they are faring very well. So we are learning on how to create incentive for process. I'm coming to the last point on creating farmers' value. Now, as you know, the prices have been, demand for kernels for the past 2 years has not been so high. And the prices have been almost the same and almost decreasing. Now, in some of our countries, we are finding that farmers are not finding high value in producing cashew. I read somewhere that even Cambodia, the pace of increasing production is decreased because of the price trend that some farmers are not finding cashew to be more lucrative. So it's high time now, we as cashew producing countries need to collaborate on how can we increase farmers' value. Because farmers have to find that cashew is a good crop for them to survive. If they found that cashew is not good for them, they will shift to other crops. So it's very important for us to work together and find how do we increase farmers' value so that cashew production can be improving farmers' lives and people can find that cashew is more lucrative for them to work with. Otherwise, we as Tanzania, we welcome all other countries. Our doors are open for anyone we want to collaborate with. Also, we are collaborating with Mozambique, as talked before, and then now we are in the process of joining CICC because we find that we can't work in isolation. In no way we have to be members of the CICC in order to collaborate better in this cashew industry globally. So for that few comments, thank you so much. I wish you a nice day here at Cambodia. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Mr. Tukaram Prabhu from the Karnataka Cashew Manufacturers Association. Mr. Francis Alfred has talked to us about, let's sum it up as learning and sharing, and that's really important, and he touched on some specifics. Tukaram, good morning. You're very welcome.
Good morning, Jim. Thank you. I would like to begin with congratulating Team Eventel Global for successfully organizing this 10th World Cashew Convention. And coming to the subject, competition and cooperation. Competition will always be a part of life and it should always be a welcome. So coming to the cooperation, I see cashew business standing on 3 pillars. Basically the producers, the processors and the consumers. So with respect to the producers, we talk of increasing the farmer income. And on this subject, I would like to say that a lot of cooperation is possible here. There should be, see, the cashew apple is almost 5 to 8 times the weight of the cashew nut, raw cashew nut. And most of the places it is going as a waste. So if some research possible on this, some cooperation on this, it will definitely add a lot of value for the farmer. Similarly, we have many countries producing cashews. So maybe looking at the statistics and having the data in hand, if we are able to cooperate to increase the yield per hectare, we maybe adopt the best practices from countries having the best yield per hectare and use it in other countries, it will definitely add a lot of value for the farmer. Promotion. Promotion at the consumer end by all the stakeholders will definitely add value for all of us in the value chain. Another important part for which is linked also to the farmer income would be the taxes applicable in the origin countries. I express my opinions as a businessman and I do understand the challenges which the governments or the departments would have, but the point would be when the prices of raw cashews are very high, I feel the taxes also should be high. And when the prices of the raw cashew drops, the taxes also should be dropped. So once the taxes are low, more income will get into the hands of the farmer. Suppose at $1,000 of P&F pricing, if the taxes are minimal, the maximum will get into the hands of the farmers. And when the prices are at 2,000, you increase the taxes and the farmer even then gets a fair income. With the also other part, as has been expressed yesterday also, a standard for RCN and kernels, there can be a lot of cooperation in this field also. And maybe a lot needs to be done to bring sanctity into the contracts. And promotion from the Cashew Export Promotion Council of India under our able chairmanship of Mr. Hari Nair, there was a research done on the health benefits of cashews on type 2 diabetes. A lot more of such researches and clinical trials can be done to enhance the value and promote cashew consumption. Tanzanian government, see, as a processor or a trader, Tanzanian government has done a fantastic job with the auction system and realizing the best values for the farmers. We really appreciate it a lot. But once the auction is done, what about the traders or who participate in the auctions? This year, all the shipments were supposed to be done from Matwara, and logistics was a chaos. Even till date, we are not able to get all the shipments out of Tanzania. So definitely we would request the Cashew Board of Tanzania to get involved and consider all of us as a part of the business. In terms of cashew consumption part, see, as processors and as buyers of kernels, when we compare ourselves, say, cashew business with other dry fruits, it is very surprising to see that all other dry fruits vis-a-vis cashew, say almonds and other things, when it comes to chemical residual tests, have acceptance levels of 5 times more than cashews. So this is posing a big challenge for selling cashews. So we will definitely want a lot of cooperation in this aspect also. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. In a few moments, I'm going to come to our panel and I'm going to ask you a question. Where do we start? Where do we start on cooperation? What are the issues that we should pick? So think about that for a moment. In the meantime, let me just go back and summarize a little bit some of the points that our panelists have raised. Dr. Coulibaly, interestingly, raised I suppose the key issue behind the deforestation issue is the misunderstanding and the lack of good information. How can we address poor reporting if we don't have the information to counter it? He also talked about inequality of rewards and a better distribution of rewards in the chain. And Dara told us that the CCF is an organization based on the concept of cooperation. And the rise of Cambodia, of course, means that it plays a critical role in the future of the sector. André talked to us, and I'll sum it up in the 2 words again, values and vision. I think these are very important words, and he talked to us about cooperation, exchange of information, the influence of politics, and the availability of data. And when we think about values, how do we reconcile differences in values? And that's at the core of Mr. Alex Tran's question or comment about how competition is healthy once it's fair competition. It was interesting to listen to Tola telling us about the African Cashew Alliance and telling us about the impact of the African Cashew Alliance. And it occurred to me that we have nowadays got a lot of trade associations and organizations. We have regional cooperation, but so far we have no global cooperation. If we think about it, CCF, ACA, CICC, APEDA, Karnataka Cashew Manufacturers Association, I could go on. We had offers from Mozambique and from Tanzania to share agricultural practices, to talk about common marketing approaches, to talk about, as I would summarize it, learning and sharing. And Tukaram, a little bit threw the cat amongst the pigeons, as I expected he might. He told us that taxation, export taxation on RCN should be market linked, an interesting concept. He also told us about ways in which we could cooperate to improve the lot of the farmer. So we've talked a little bit about what, and we've talked a little bit about the current situation. How is the next question. Where do we start with this? How can we start a global cashew cooperation between countries? André, you're an international organization. What's your thoughts on this?
Merci James. L'évidence aujourd'hui, nous l'avons abordé sur les questions de compétition, c'est naturel. Mais la coopération reste indispensable sur un certain nombre d'éléments. La recherche, par exemple, pour soutenir la durabilité du secteur du cajou, il faut agir, évidemment, dans son contexte, mais associer le contexte global pour regarder le secteur du cajou de façon globale en matière de recherche, parce que ça va pousser l'industrie de façon durable. La coopération également doit s'intéresser à tout ce qui peut permettre aux producteurs, aux transformateurs, aux consommateurs de fédérer l'énergie pour pouvoir pousser l'industrie qui puisse être profitable à tous les acteurs de façon équitable. La coopération également doit s'adresser à tout ce qui peut être partagé. Les efforts qui ont connu d'évidence dans d'autres pays peuvent être mis à disposition d'autres pays pour accélérer le développement du secteur et ça profite à l'ensemble du secteur. Donc, la coopération, c'est presque indispensable, qu'on soit à l'échelle pays, à l'échelle de l'entreprise ou à l'échelle de tout ce qui peut permettre de s'adresser au secteur du cajou. Donc la coopération est nécessaire. Donc aujourd'hui, nous devons savoir que sans cette coopération, il va être difficile d'adresser le secteur du cajou et penser que cela puisse tirer davantage à l'échelle des pays et à l'échelle globale.
Thank you, André. So there's an issue, environmental sustainability, that I think we can all agree on.
Exactly.
Dr. Coulibaly, give us your thoughts on that.
Oui, pour nous, là, il y a un déficit de communication entre les pays producteurs et les pays transformateurs. Et pour nous, la coopération devrait commencer par là. Qu'il y ait un fort lien entre les pays producteurs, puisque quand on regarde la carte, la production se fait en Afrique, maintenant au Cambodge, mais la transformation se fait en Asie, particulièrement au Vietnam et en Inde. Entre ces pays, il nous semble qu'il n'y a pas suffisamment de relations en termes de partage d'informations pour que, au total, le producteur, qui est le maillon faible, puisse bénéficier, j'allais dire, d'un revenu qui lui permet de rester en vie. Parce que s'il ne reste pas en vie, comme je dis, la durabilité dépend quand même du producteur et de la production. Et si le producteur n'a aucun intérêt à produire, c'est sûr qu'il ne va pas continuer parce que nous sommes convaincus que le producteur est un opérateur économique comme tous les autres. Alors, je pense que quand on regarde dans les supermarchés, comme je l'ai dit dans mon intervention, le consommateur final, il paye quand même le prix fort des amendes. Le producteur a le minimum, même pas $1,5 le kilo. même pas, en tout cas pour ce qui concerne la Côte d'Ivoire. Alors, il y a quelque part du gras. Comment on peut faire pour, entre pays producteurs et pays transformateurs, ensuite avec les redistributeurs, comment donc on peut s'asseoir pour regarder qu'est-ce qu'on peut donner au minima, aux producteurs pour que la chaîne continue de fonctionner et d'être huilée. À notre avis, c'est vraiment à ce niveau, déjà entre les pays transformateurs et les pays producteurs qui ont un intérêt commun. Cet intérêt commun, c'est de garantir au moins un minimum pour que les usines continuent de fonctionner sans perte, parce qu'il y a ces dernières années, on a quand même constaté qu'un certain nombre d'usines de transformation ont été en difficulté, parce que le prix des amendes baisse et les coûts de transformation, eux, ne baissent pas. Donc pour nous, c'est vraiment important qu'il y ait ce dialogue entre pays, dans un premier temps, pays producteurs et pays transformateurs, ensuite, avec les redistributeurs, comment aller, j'allais dire, ensemble, entre les producteurs et les transformateurs, vers les distributeurs pour avoir un second niveau de dialogue. Voilà notre point de vue.
Merci, Dr. Coulibaly. Let's get a view from Vietnam, Mr. Alex Tran. What do you think are the key factors in building communication in the sector?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Coulibaly. I totally agree with you that between the producer, cashew producer and cashew processors, we need to have a cooperation, especially the thing you mentioned about the exchange information. To set up that system, we can get information correctly and promptly, so we understand to each other. Then we can cooperate, support to each other. Like, yeah, that is true. That's in our country, many processors recently already closed up their business because they cannot compete with about the raw materials, about sourcing raw material. They don't have raw material to run their business. That is the reason. And besides the exchange information, we need to get the cooperation in supplying raw material based on the long term. Then the processor can just and believe in that and they can invest more money and time and technique to produce, to process to a good quality kernel, the product, to give it to the end user, to supply the good kernel to get the trust and belief from the end user also, not only between the cashew producer and cashew processor, but also in the market. That is the very important, because now in Vietnam, many processors, they don't feel confident in their future about the raw material supply. That is the main point. So I think we will go the next step, that is into the process, the value-added products, because the lack of the raw material. So we will move from the processing from raw nut to the kernel, to value-added products. That's what we are thinking in our country, because the raw material supply issue. So we also think that from now on, Cambodia cashew is the good source for us. And we focus our attention to Cambodian cashew, raw cashew nut. That's
Thank you very much. So we have identified one issue that we all agree on, the issue of sustainability, and we've identified one serious problem for cooperation, which is perhaps the lack of dialogue, poor communication. What could be a mechanism? Tukaram, what could be a mechanism? How do we do this? How do we bring people closer together in this chain?
As Dr. Adama Coulibaly said, he also that the number of processes is also diminishing. So a cooperation from the consuming countries, when the kernel prices are high, definitely the raw nut prices will go up. And consuming Indian growth story, the consumption growth that has happened in India, I think there can be cooperation with the consuming countries as to adopting or introducing the patterns in which India consumes as an ingredient. So that will definitely help improve RCN prices as well. And cooperation, see, as processors, we also have had our part of challenges. As the technology has been changing, we have constantly required to upgrade the same. And all these challenges also, that it is not that the processor takes most of the profit and does not pass it on to the raw cashew. So we need to discuss more, maybe in all the issues openly, and then take it forward.
We need to discuss more, well, that's for sure. What do you think? How can we do that? Let's get a point of view from Mozambique.
Thank you, Jim. I think that there is a big challenge in this process to cooperation, but also we have the opportunity to cooperate, especially with our neighbors, and also we can cooperate with the consumers, as he said, from India, because we have to know what that the consumer need to us as producers, as processors. So this global process is very important. Also, we are joined in CICC because we know that it will be better to us in this process of cooperation and the competitiveness. Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone would like to contribute or ask a question or give us some ideas, feel free. Tola, I want to ask you a question. We hear a lot about cooperation today, but we also hear a lot about local interests, individual interests, business interests, profit loss, perceptions. How can we change people's minds so that they start to think more globally, more sector-oriented?
Thank you very much, Jim. Like I said earlier on, we must understand that we are dependent on each other, and no one can continue to function in silos. For the industry to survive, for it to be sustainable, there has to be constant flow of information amongst the actors. In engaging each other, we understand ourselves, we understand our pain. Like my brother said just now, there's a feeling that, oh, the processors keep all the profit. But he said something. There's a change of technology that keeps going on. And so there has to be constant investment. But the whole idea is that for it to be, for the industry to be sustainable, the farmer's interest has to be looked at. The middleman his interest has to be looked at. The processor's interest has to be looked at. the consumer's interests have to be looked at. And so, with our meetings, with every forum, there has to be engagement. There has to be a free flow of information. There has to be transparency. There has to be openness, such that with that we can have a more competitive and a more sustainable industry. It's very important.
So you're saying we can change people's minds by openness and transparency, or put it a different way, by talking to each other?
Yeah, absolutely. Talking to each other.
Talking to each other.
We have to constantly create that forum. We have to constantly create that system that makes us to communicate, to make ourselves feel each other, because we need each other.
So a system where we stop using market information as a tool to make more money out of the other guy, and where we start to use it as an opportunity to talk to each other and to get together.
Yeah, market information tools is important. It's important.
Okay.
Information flow is important. You have a forum, for instance, which you come on, on a ACA platform, and you engage everyone, as many people that want to, connect. That helps the information flow. That helps to prevent distortions within the industry. And I think we should encourage that more and more. And then, of course, at the government level as well, all that should be going on.
Should be government and private.
Sorry?
The openness and transparency should be at a government level and at the private sector level.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's come back to East Africa. And I've noticed in recent years with the auction in Tanzania, it's much easier to get information about what's happened in each auction, pricing, the quality of the lots and so on. This has been an improvement. Can I ask you, what was the thinking behind this transparency, or close to transparency, that's evolved? Why did you change that? Why did that system become more open?
So what the system is the system we are using, that's what you mean?
Yeah, but focused on the information side of it. Now I can get information easily. 10 years ago, it was impossible to get information about the auction.
Okay. Now, through the use of warehouse system, we found that people need to get this information, what's going on, in order to increase our competitiveness in the market. This is due to the fact that the good thing about Cashew in Tanzania, that everything that's being done is open. And that one is assisted us to come up with a product which is of very high quality. So for us, through the use of warehouse system and the open system, which is open to everyone, with this it's better, and it increases our competitiveness in the market. So we want to know other people to see what we are doing, so that they can know that anyone can come to Tanzania and procure cashew, as long as it meets the basic requirement which we have put in place.
So you're saying that openness makes you more competitive?
Yes. Openness has assisted us to be more competitive, because we are more new entrants, new buyers are coming to Tanzania, because they know that they come to Tanzania and they can procure cashew without any difficulty.
I think that's a really interesting point. I mean, a lot of the thinking in our industry is that keep the information to yourself, because if you release it, it weakens you. But you're telling us that openness makes you more competitive. Okay, so we've identified two big issues. The first issue is sustainability of the sector. The second issue was, as Dr. Coulibaly told us, a fairer sharing of the rewards in the sector. Go on, Tukaram, I'm not going to stop you talking.
Last one point I would want to make is, every time, why do the producing countries threaten the processing countries that they want to process all of it in their place? Why can't we coexist? That we grow more cashews and keep supplying to the processing countries as well.
Well, at least they're telling you. They're being open. Tell them why not. That's the dialogue.
See, as India is one of the biggest consumers, all of us will, definitely you cannot, you have to be a part of that growth story.
We're all part of the one story. That's the way I would look at it. But we're coming also to the end of our story now. And I'm going to come to Dara for the final word on this subject. Give us your thoughts on openness, transparency, and cooperation.
Okay, thank you very much, Fitzpatrick, for the question and give me the opportunity. Before going to your question, I'm very proud, you know, when a colleague from Vietnam and from India, they're talking about the raw cashew nut. They're short of raw cashew nut to supply to their factory. And Cambodia is very proud because we are in the process to improve more production with good quality. So, of course, we will not process all in our country. We just process step by step, and that is very important. And going to your question is very, very important, you know, like open cooperation. People just try to take advantage, try to build institution, and then they try to get the money from the institution. For example, like maybe one institution want to cover all the cashew, and if you want to be the member of that cashew, and then you need to pay like 7,000 tons a year, 7,000 US dollar a year or something like that. So better to identify what is the real institution that they are in charge of the sector of the cashew. For example, like in Vietnam, you have VINACAS. So in Cambodia, for example, like you have CCF, and maybe in Africa, you have CICC or something like that. So why don't we just work together, identify what is the main problem in Vietnam, what is the main problem in Cambodia, what is the main problem in Africa, and then we will work out from the production perspective, processing and consuming. And let's say, for example, like consumer, probably especially for importer, they might want to buy the very cheap price and sell in very high price. So things like that, we need to work together. Everybody need to have the fair price, you know, in order to to have the sustainable business for the cashew. So this is very important, and you cannot compete each other more in terms of like technology, in terms of like seedling. For example, like Cambodia have very good seedling. How can you take the 320 to compete with 180? Cannot. So you need to identify it and try to you know, identify your position, your uniqueness, and allow the buyer to realize that and give us the fair price to us. And then we can open, you know, for example, like, okay, this year Cambodia will produce this much of the raw cashew nut. This year, maybe Africa, in Ivory Coast, produce this much of raw cashew nut, this type of raw cashew nut. Because cashew nut, you cannot, you know, like, put it the same. You know, like, you have a grade, you know, from 160 to 450. So people will pay different prices. But we need to be very open. And then international development partners should have us to coordinate this. And who is a big buyer in the world? Who is a big processor in the world? Who is the best big producer in the world? How can we cooperate together in order to get the fair price for all this, for the cashew sector?
Thank you very much. That's a good summing up of it. So we've heard about big issues, sustainability. We've heard about the fact of life of competition, but that should be fair competition. We've talked about cooperation. There's no cooperation without dialogue. There's no dialogue without some openness and some transparency. Thank you very much to the panel. Ladies and gentlemen, please show your appreciation. It's not an easy subject to discuss, but thank you very much indeed. So that brings our session to an end. Thanks very much indeed for your attention, and I wish you all the best for the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, President CCF. Mr. Dara laid it out pretty open and bare towards the end of the session, and that was a very, very real pitch that he made. It was very interesting to hear. And a big thank you to Mr. André Mahoutin Tanjipa. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are seated, let me hear you clap. A big thank you to Mr. Ilidio Afonso Jose Bande. Mr. Alex Tran, the Vice President and Trade Promotion Director for VINACAS. Mr. Tola Faseru. So I can see Dr. Adama Coulibaly wondering what that is. So sir, that's a wooden etching of the Angkor Wat. Some are getting the Apsara also, they are luckier. And then a big thank you to Mr. Tukaram Prabhu sir, always making an impassioned pitch for India, the biggest cashew consumer in the world. Mr. Alfred Francis, thank you sir for your time on the stage with us. And finally, last but not the least, our absolute rock star of the cashew ecosystem in the world, Mr. Jim Fitzpatrick. Gentlemen, may I request you to step forward for a group picture, everyone, all of you together. In the meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, you have 10 minutes. In fact, we've already used 2 of those. So in effect, you have 8 minutes for your tea and coffee. I want to find out, did you enjoy this session? Can I hear a yes? Then if you did enjoy this session, come back fast because there's an equally loaded one ready for you on the other side of this bio break. 8 minutes and your clock is ticking.